Hello again, guys. Thank you for clicking on my videos again. I can't believe you just keep coming back. Wow, what is this? So this is gonna be my wrap up for September. This month I read 9 books, which is kind of a lot for me. So yeah, let's talk about them. Okay, first up I have Vengeful, which is the second book in the Villains duology by V.E. Schwab. Here's the thing about this one. So I gave it 3 stars. The first book I really liked. I gave 4.5 stars, and I feel like that book just ended so well. It ended in such a way that it was like you can kind of predict where the story is gonna go, and you can kind of think like, oh, this is cool. I like this story. Like, I kind of could have read it as a standalone, but I'd already bought this, and so I was like, okay, I might as well finish up the series. And it's longer than the first book, and for what? This felt kind of unnecessary. I still enjoyed it because I do enjoy the world and the characters that we were introduced to in the first book, but it felt like an unnecessary, like it was just pinned to the end of the series, and it just was not very necessary. So yeah, that's how I feel about this. It's still good. It's still good. So like, if you really want to revisit this world and these characters, then you can pick it up, but I just don't really find it necessary. I just really like the first book overall. So yeah, there's that one. Next up I have The Host by Stephanie Meyer. Man, this has just been a Stephanie Meyer month, but a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine, has read this book, and she was just talking about how much she loved it and how much she doesn't understand like why this book is hated on. There's a movie adaptation for this book and I haven't read it yet. Watched it yet. I haven't watched it yet. So I wonder how accurate it is. I think I've heard that it's not that accurate, so that's too bad. But this is interesting. So this story follows a kind of dystopian world where our world, Earth, is taken over by this other species called souls. And what souls do is they inhabit human bodies. So all the human bodies become hosts for souls, and usually the original person that was in that body kind of disappears, and the soul like takes over and is now the personality in that body. But for our main character, the human that have this body does not disappear, and so the soul is the main voice throughout the book. Her name is Wanderer, and it's about how since the human kind of sticks around, the human's name is Melanie, since Melanie kind of sticks around, she starts to get memories from her life. And Melanie had like a little brother, she had like a boyfriend, and so she has all those memories, and she kind of like starts to love them, and so she kind of goes to find where they are hiding, because all the humans aren't hiding because they don't want to be possessed by the souls. And yeah, so that's kind of the beginning. I don't want to spoil it because I really hate getting spoiled for stuff in the book, but it's very interesting. It explores really interesting topics, just the way that the soul is so selfless, and she's just a very sweet, like wholesome person. Yeah, it was like a lot of it was kind of like messed with my mind because you can confuse Wanderer and Melanie, like they're not the same person but they're in the same body, so it's just like, but I really enjoyed this overall. 4.5 stars. Next up, oh my goodness. So next up I have A Word So Fitly Spoken by T.A. Lawrence, and this book is not popular, I don't think. I haven't heard anyone else talking about it, but I gave this book 5 stars, guys. This is a fantasy. It is a fantasy romance, and it's loosely based off of 1001 Nights, and oh my word, this is one of the most unique and intriguing fantasies I've ever read. So if you know the story of 1001 Nights, then you might kind of get an idea for what this is about, but it's basically about, this is about a girl named Asha, and she has a beautiful younger sister. So when a decree comes that every young beautiful maiden is to be entered into this census to be married to the king, she panics because the king has declared that he is going to marry a new human maiden every month, get married to her, and then the next day execute her, because he's convinced that human women are all liars and are all terrible and all deserve to die. So yeah, there's Fae and humans in this world, and Asha's a human, but the Fae are kind of like an upper class in this universe. And so what happens is the king has this decree, and there's a condition that he will either kill a girl every month, or there can be one girl that volunteers to be his bride and be killed the next morning. Because if someone volunteers, then he will know that not all women deserve to die, and then he'll like end it there. The only one that is going to die is the woman that volunteered. And so Asha decides to volunteer so that her sister does not die. But Asha knows that she's not going to be entered into the census otherwise, because she has a massive scar on the side of her face, so she knows she's not like a beautiful maiden. So she knows that she's safe, but she knows that her little sister is not, so she decides to volunteer. Another thing about this book is the magic system. I have this magic system is very unique. The magic that our main character has, it's rare for a human to have magic, but she has magic. It's like an airplane flying outside my house. Why is it lasting so long? Oh, it's a helicopter. so it's slow. Oh my gosh, it's like 2 helicopters. We live right next to like a military airport, so there's like a lot of jets flying over our house. Anyway, just try to ignore that if you can still hear it. So her magic is with storytelling. When she tells a story, everyone can like picture it in their minds extremely vividly, like it's almost a dream or a hallucination or something. And she doesn't know what she is going to tell a story about. Like the magic takes over, and the story is like stuff that has actually happened that she, the human, would not know about otherwise. But since she's storytelling, she like suddenly knows stuff that she wouldn't know otherwise. And it's really cool. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's like she just knows things about the world that she's not supposed to know because of her magic. She can like storytell. And so the original fairy tale, 1001 Nights, is about the king who is going to marry and execute this girl, but she tells a story to him every night. And so he does not execute her because he's like, he wants to know how the story ends. Like she always leaves it on a cliffhanger. And so that kind of happens in this where the king, yeah, I'm not gonna say too much, but just know that that's the original source material. And so yeah, it's really cool. I've never read a fantasy that is based off of 1001 Nights, so that was really neat to encounter, but also the super unique magic system, and the character is super lovable. The romance, oh, it's so good. I love this romance. This is a whole series, and I've heard from my friend that's read this series that this is her favorite romance in the whole series. So yeah, and it's really good. I really loved it. 5 stars, so good. It's not very popular, but just trust me guys, like we have to make this popular. Please help me make this popular because it's such a good book. Okay, and next we have the second book in this series. It's called the Severed Realms series, and it is called A Tune to Make Them Follow. And this one is based off of the Pied Piper fairy tale. So this one follows Piper. So it's different characters from book 1, different romance, different cast, same universe, same kinds of magic and everything. We actually briefly saw Piper in book 1, and so we're kind of just following her, and I know that in the future, like all the characters have cameos. I don't know if they like all come together kind of like Lunar Chronicles style, where each book is like following a different main character and then they all come together. I'm not sure. I kind of hope that happens because I really like all these main characters. So yeah, so this is about a girl named Piper who kidnaps children by playing them music from her using her magic. And she uses her flute, and the magic only finds kids that are like in horrible homes, like where they're abused or something like that, or they're unhappy or like being starved or things like that. So because she's like working for this guy that is recruiting children to kind of like overthrow the kingdom, and so Piper is acting as this man's recruiter, and so she's like finding kids with her magic and stuff. Same like magic, very unique. It's almost like the magic is like a sentient being in this universe, where the magic is like saying stuff in their head. It's like almost like their friends like talking back and forth. Yeah, that's really good. Same series as Words of Fitly Spoken. I gave this one 3.5 stars, so I still really enjoyed it, just not as much as the first book. And then I have the only romance that I read this month. It's called Love and Gelato by Jenna Evans Welch, and this follows our main character Lena, whose mother just died from pancreatic cancer. And her mother, right before she died, was talking about all of her time that she spent in Italy when she was in college, and how she just loved Italy. She like fell in love with Italy, and she's kind of hinting that there's this guy there that she really liked. Hint, hint. And so Lena's kind of figuring out, oh, she's talking about my dad that she's never met before. Lena's like in high school, old, has never known her dad. And so after her mom died, her mom sent her to Italy, where she's living with her father and encountering Italy and like falling in love with the landscape. I swear, this book made me want to go to Italy. I've never had a hankering to go to Italy, and this gave it to me. Because the way she describes the landscape and the culture and the gelato and all these things, I'm just like, oh my gosh, this sounds really cool. And so it's a great vibe. It's very short. I read it in like 1.5 days. There's another element in this where she's discovering a lot about her mother's life in Italy, where there was just a lot of secrets that she was keeping. And so she's kind of uncovering a lot of the secrets using this journal that her mom left for her. So she's like using this journal and kind of like deciphering like what her mom was trying to say to her, like all this stuff. So there's kind of a mysterious element with that. So yeah, it's cute, little romance, little cute story in Italy, and it makes me want to go to Italy now. So yeah, so that's good. Okay, next, if you guys watched my previous video, I read the entire Twilight saga for the first time, and boy was it a wild ride. I did like it more than I thought I would. I just thought I was going to be struggling and cringing through everything, and I just thought I would not. I would just think it was dumb. I don't know. So what it was definitely entertaining. I would not say it was quality. It's hard to dissect this story because there's not a whole lot to dissect. It's just, yeah, it's just like romance and crazy vampire stuff and all of that shenanigans. just heard people outside my room and I just can't talk when other people can hear me. It's just too much. I don't know how much battery life my camera has left, so if it cuts off very suddenly, that's why. Yeah, so the first book I gave 3.5 stars. Pleasantly surprised. At the beginning, at least, I thought Edward and Bella's relationship was actually healthy, and I think if I didn't know that Edward was a vampire going into this, I would have been so gobsmacked, like, where is this coming from? What is this? What? But having known that going in, I knew what I was signing up for, so I wasn't that, like, caught off guard, super put off by it. So yeah, 3.5 stars for Twilight. The next book is New Moon, and this one was just really depressing for me. I kind of ranked my favoritism with this series based off of entertainment, because again, I don't really know how to rank them based off of quality. So this one was the least entertaining one for me because of just how depressing it happened. So rude. It literally just like interrupted me. That was crazy. So anyway, I was saying New Moon was just depressing, and so it was the least entertaining of all 4 books, I would say. We did meet Jacob. There was a lot that happened with Jacob. I mean, we met him in the first book, but this is when Bella and his friendship actually takes off. So we see him being a ray of sunshine, then we see him turning into a werewolf and becoming not a ray of sunshine, and then him being super protective of her and making her not go to Edward, and then just telling her they couldn't be friends anymore. So it was just a whole roller coaster, you know? And yeah, so it was a lot. 3 star, because it was tolerable, if nothing else. And then we have Eclipse, which was probably my favorite of the series just because of how entertaining it all was. This is where all of the Jacob and Edward drama was living. It was so much. I was really loving it. It was definitely something. It was very, just had me laughing, had me gawking, had me gaping at it like this. So yeah, all in all, it was a great experience. And this is also the only book that has like action at the end, and so I appreciated it for that reason. So this one I gave 4 stars. And then the finale, the grand finale of this series was Breaking Dawn. And yeah, so much happens in this one. I gave it 3.5 because of how much happens. But let me tell you, there were so many moments in this where I was just like, what am I reading? What is this? Yeah, just a lot of things don't make sense to me in this universe. Like, why would she decide to make that a thing in like the magic and all that? Specifically things like the imprinting and just the way that Volturi are like cowards and won't fight. That was so disappointing. But anyway, yeah, so 3.5 for this one because it was entertaining. Like I was saying, lots happened. The whole marriage, the whole pregnancy, like all of that stuff. So yeah, very interesting, very cool, very crazy. I run out of adjectives to describe this series. Like, just go watch my video if you really want to know my thoughts when I'm more coherent with it. Oh boy. How do people do this? So yeah, these are all the books that I read. Please comment down below all the books that you read and what you think of these books. I want to hear your thoughts. Tell me how you liked them. Tell me if you liked them more than I did or disliked them more than I did. I would love to know. And make sure to check out my other videos. I have a couple up already, and I have plenty more coming this month and all the months to come, hopefully. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll check in with you next time.